Exactly, and it's actually not even to say that they need to change their philosophy, but this is just a series of events that have not gone the way you want them to when they're making these high-risk plays.
Well, this is interesting. FlyQuest actually banning Varus themselves, which I am surprised by, considering they were willing to late pick it earlier on, and now they're so afraid they don't want to let it get picked at all. But a very different look now from this lineup. Jace, I believe, was just left through the entire pick ban phase the first time. Now it's banned away. FlyQuest continue to ban Camille. I think they are continually doing this. Balls does not seem to know the champion.
Yep.
And it's repeatedly showing up in their ban phase despite the nerfs.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a FlyQuest ban for quite a while. As much flexibility as they gain through Moon and High's champion pools, that is one they have to throw on the ban phase most of the time.
Setting for a first pick Shen, I think. It's been really important for them, and I feel like both these teams, in a lot of cases, would rather play the Shen. Maokai banned off the table, maybe lets that available for TSM. We'll see that's actually the case, though. 13 seconds to go until FlyQuest makes their final decision. Rengar still up, Kha'Zix, Graves as well, so junglers I feel like are pretty tradable, and that does mean it's a Shen ban.
Exactly, and that's the smart move, I believe, since Hauntzer has had such success on those champions, and it almost forces TSM hand, in a sense, to go with the Rengar, even though I really do feel like Graves can be a viable trade back. I wouldn't be surprised to see TSM lock in the Rengar, though, because Moon hasn't played much Graves and still might end up going with something completely different.
Sure.
But they know Moon will pick Rengar if they let it through.
And they know he's pretty good at it, so it's going to be off the table. Nautilus really rush picked, and that's interesting to me. They want to pick Jhin alongside. Of course, there's no rush now to grab a second jungler, so just going to grab these right off the bat, and they'll wait for the rest of it.
Yeah, and also, you now have to ask which tank Hauntzer is going to play. Maokai, Shen, Nautilus off the board. Next up would be Poppy, but that is a much different blueprint of a tank.
Yeah.
So, like the choice of the Nautilus right there, and even the force on the Rengar pick. So I don't think that's a great early start to TSM's draft.
Renekton seems unlikely, but time's ticking down, and they're going to play Renekton! This series is so much fun! I haven't seen Renekton in pro play for a while either. Ash going to go alongside, and Renekton is going to be their brand of fighting in the Nautilus.
We've seen a few Renektons, I know, in the LCK. Graves gets picked on the last half to avoid it being banned out by TSM, but definitely, as we say, a much different feeling top laner. Renekton, while he gets tanky from a bunch of health from his ultimate, there's no guarantee that Svenskeren is going to build tank. You see a lot of success with the Black Cleaver, Ravenous Hydra type Renektons that can just split push and 1v2 people. So curious to see Hauntser's take on it.
I remember seeing Renekton played by, it was either Someday or Flame a little while back in the North American LCS. One of the prolific NA top laners now, and that didn't go well for them. We'll see what else can come through with this one. Zed could be banned off.
Ray did play it against Team Liquid this year, but he went 1-6-1, and that was it for as far as seeing it in the North American LCS so far this year.
But Expect played it on G2 and actually had a good win, 6-0 on him, so.
Absolutely.
We'll see. I love websites that track stuff for us. It's really, 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 really helpful.
You mean you didn't have all that memorized, Freak?
Yeah, I memorized Expect Renekton KDA from his match against Unicorns of Love. I wasn't reading or anything. Rise, lots of short names banned off the list right now. But honestly, we'll see if it's going to be another Assassin off the table from High. And we go back into the pick phase soon enough. Again, FlyQuest will have first pick here. Yep, LeBlanc off the table. Same actual bans that came through last time, I believe, from TSM.
Yeah.
In round 2.
Right. FlyQuest keeping the Zyra Malzahar off the board. Also getting the Karma once again. Lemon Nation with Karma and Malzahar as his two go-tos is able to get them once again. But there's no reason the TSM can't just do the similar thing they did last game and pick the Ashe Nami lane. Yeah,
absolutely. I don't super love Ashe Nami as a specific duo just because the slows don't stack. So part of the reason she's good with Tidecaller's Blessing just goes away because of Ashe's passive. But you have lots of poke, lots of sustain, and you can layer that CC pretty well. Bubbles are obviously super free against an Ashe arrow, and if Turtle lands one, they could one-shot somebody. We'll see. There's no heavy front line from TSM. Renekton is halfway between, and Rengar could, depending on how he builds. But Bjergsen now is going to be forced to blind pick this time around. Last time it was High. Dude, this is just all old school. Yeah, Echo seems more likely. An Echo blind pick.
I was like, what? But no, he was trolling. Bjergsen with the Echo. Something he's had a little bit more time on is just the Assassin class in general this year as far as trying to get his playmaking in here. I'm expecting, a lot of 1-3-1 from TSM. They have to play much differently when they have Renekton Echo as their solo laners as opposed to something we saw them yesterday with Maokai Orianna, who's just very teamfight based. It's a totally different style from TSM, which can be a little dangerous. And meanwhile, FlyQuest has gone with the Orianna plus tank, plus just large amounts of physical damage coming from the jungle and marksman position. So FlyQuest with the much more conventional comp, easier to execute, and I'd actually say favorable comp. TSM with the really hard to execute one here, and they haven't shown a lot of success with comps like these this year.
Absolutely agree, but we'll see if it can come through to fruition this time around. A very exciting volatile comp from TSM. Everyone's got their own version of playmaking here on the roster. Meanwhile, FlyQuest much more tried and true team fight from what I can tell based on how the champ is supposed to work. We saw Orianna get a pentakill yesterday, but it was Bjergsen playing it. High's got to live up to that standard to a certain degree. Otherwise, FlyQuest goes home with what I think would be back-to-back 0-2 losses, which would be easily their worst streak ever in the North American LCS.
You got that right. With how dominant they had been at one point, 6-1 before their Cloud9 game or series at the end of last week. Need to be able to bounce back right there. Would love to pick up 2 in a row and take down TSM.
Absolutely. FlyQuest, as we said, down 0-1, must win 2 games straight. This will be the first of those 2 wins, and there's, of course, standings implications on the line. TSM only about a match and a half behind Cloud9, and C9 can play later today and maybe drop a loss there, and if all goes well, TSM could actually tie for first, everything else willing. FlyQuest, of course, on Phoenix 1 on their heels, and that could be another tie for third. And so a lot of jockeying available here as we get ourselves into the game.
Exactly, and there was some flex scheduling this week. So this TSM versus FlyQuest matchup, as well as the Phoenix 1 versus C9 matchup, are the only matchups that just haven't happened this year in the North American LCS. After those games, everyone will have played everyone at least once. And with TSM already having 2 games against Cloud9, they arguably have had the hardest schedule in the league through 10 games. So if they can move through this and have Cloud9 beaten the second half, also having 1 win on to FlyQuest, that would almost show them that they are capable of playing with everyone. And with their long-term goal of just improving throughout the split and not caring as much as winning losses, you could start asking the questions of who can beat TSM, but we're a long way from there with how much inconsistency they've shown so far this spring.
No doubt, we are on the internet. We must jump to conclusions at all times. TSM officially the best team in North America. Pandering to the audience is easy. But honestly, it's going to be a very fun game right here as Moon is battling TSM out of his own jungle. And will just stay delayed for now. Woo! Actually, Bjergsen, he'll live, but he's hurt. And I actually wonder if Altec should have flash autoed that. It actually maybe would have killed Bjergsen. It'd be close.
Yeah, he was on his 4th shot, so he may have been able to at least force the flash, and then it's a question of what do you prioritize more, your bottom lane or the lane against Bjergsen. And I feel like in most high versus Bjergsen matchups, with how much TSM focused the mid lane last game, if Bjergsen was down flash, it would hinder that strategy a lot. So I actually agree with you, Frick. I would have liked to see Altec try and flash for that 4th bullet, and even if it wasn't guaranteed a kill, it probably would have forced Bjergsen into a flash.
Yeah, that's just so dangerous, because if you get that wrong, you look like a complete idiot. And I understand hesitation there. Moon getting a leash from Balls, going to clear off his Raptors pretty easily. Ooh, Lemonation missing on Turtle, that sidestep. It's the lane advantage right now for TSM.
Super good play there by Wild Turtle. Usually that empowered Karma Q is the size of a house, so it's very rare you see someone sidestep it. Nice job predicting Lemon would fire right away. God is another one.
Worth noting, by the way, Balls seem to take several CS away from Moon. Moon isn't level 2 after completing the Raptor camp. So he actually missed a couple. Balls walked in a lane with 2 CS. It doesn't hurt him. Graves can jungle for basically infinity. It does give Balls a lead in his lane. He'll level up first, but I don't think they wanted that, I don't think.
Yeah, I'd have to double check to see why that happened, but with the late harass that TSM tried to do on that Raptor camp, I think Balls was just making sure that their team got it, and he wasn't able to clear enough distance away from Moon, and Moon wanted to continue to clear the Raptor camp. Punches him with that early gank.
Early gank. Look at the damage output. It doesn't even matter who got the kill. Oh, he gets him just barely in the end. Moon gets away with it. And maybe it was intentional. The level 2 power spike might have helped it.
And that was really close to Haunter getting away with that. As Moon is reloading, if Haunter could have edged a little bit towards the minions, he would have been able to get away from that Graves auto attack damage. But Haunter teleporting back into the lane, and it does hurt to give up first blood like that. But one thing I've noticed about a lot of these top lane matchups is when you teleport right back, especially when the kill goes to the jungler, the lane itself isn't that impacted unless you're killed without your teleport. So Haunter may be able to recover in this lane.
Good damage back on a Turtle, though. Speaking of recovering,
Whew.
Yeah, but it is worth pointing out, though, the fact that Haunter lost Flash and Balls didn't have to.
Yeah, the repeat gank is super high threat in here, and then Haunter uses both procs of the E right here and the reload. If he can get into those minions, you notice the front minion took one of the 3 Graves bullets that he has from his natural auto attack, so actually very close to missing that. Haunter, though, giving up the first blood, wasn't respecting the quick Graves level 2 to 3 gank right there, and great job by Moon and Balls for pulling that off.
Definitely some well-played stuff by the FlyQuest duo. It actually kind of looks like old Cloud9 used to see so many level 6 power dives from Meteos and Balls, and this one, of course, level 2 is different, but there used to be some really strong top jungle synergy back when Balls used to be on Cloud9, and we'll see what else FlyQuest can get out of this game, because the early pressure has so far worked. Bottom lane pushing in, but down minions actually fairly heavily right now. Ashnami, I would say, a better duo lane overall as far as laning phase is concerned, so not out of the realm of possibility, but we'll see what keeps happening. Interesting to note, by the way, it's a Boots potion start for Altec. We've actually seen a fair bit of this in the LCK, specifically on Jhin. It obviously means you have lower damage. The move speed, I don't feel like it's the most important stat, but it does give you 1 more potion as the item is cheaper.
Yeah, then the longsword start that we've seen from other people. And since the rush is usually Boots 1 with a Ghost Blade, you're still building up to exactly the same items. You're just delaying it by about 50 gold to get that extra health potion. And if they feel like they got pushed in by the Nami and Ashe sustain / harass last time, switching it up and going Boots 4 pot, definitely beneficial.
Moon staying in the jungle, farming what he can, is down in level under Svenskeren right now. Of course, has an item lead thanks to the first blood, but Sven, level 5, back into the jungle, early control ward, and now it's trying to steal the Raptors away. It's going to be pretty easy for him.
Could be a little risky as Moon was pathing around, but in the nick of time, Svenskeren picks that up. That gives him a nice little experience advantage onto Moon. While Moon did pick off that successful gank, it opened him up a bit to Svenskeren's hard farming.
Individual gold-wise, Moon is still up 200, but XP-wise, it's a half a level lead for Sven, which generally means Moon's not going to beat him in the 1v1. Nice bubble and Altec means 300 damage comes through. Shield blocks a little bit of it. But you're seeing a 20 minion lead down here in the bot lane.
Yeah. So last game against the Varus and Karma, TSM was pushed in a bit. This game, we also have to point out, Wild Turtle started Doran's Blade, this time going Longsword. So stacking the sustain with Nami, it's in the short term working out very well. Also want to point out a peculiar item choice there with the Tracker's Knife being completed by Moon's Graves. You almost always see the red smite on Graves, especially against someone like Rengar, but instead opting for the more utility-based start.
Bjergsen fighting high and actually lands 0 damage at all. High jukes the skill shot pretty nicely on both sides of it. I feel like he's played Undertale before, knows how to dodge all that kind of stuff. But there we go, a fight into the top lane, but guess what? There's a Graves around, and Haunter's missing Flash. Svenskeren's in here. They know he's here. Ball's gonna take the crit, take a fair bit of damage. Oh, he's got rooted. This is bad news. He's got to flash away after the ulti just to buy himself some time.
Yeah, right there. Rather delayed counter gank there by Svenskeren, but he ends up getting what he wants. Burning the flash on Balls. I think they wanted to get the empowered Bola onto Moon since they saw his flash was down from the previous gank. They're going to try and keep this pressure up. Bjergsen is trying to roam, which would generally preface a dive.
And Bjergsen's going to be on a great tower diver. He's got the shield, the stun, and the reset afterwards, and it's enough, the threat, to keep everyone else from defending the turret. So a full minion wave gets lost, maybe even the XP on it as well, and Haunter, despite getting first blooded, you can see the minion lead up 14, and it's going to be even worse probably soon.
Yeah, I actually think that gank being pulled back was blast cone dependent. I think Bjergsen wanted the blast cone over the wall into the Krugs and then still have his E for the turret dive. But since the blast cone had been cleared out prior, good reminder to your team, always clear out blast cones when you go through because other teams are going to use them to kill you. I think that actually prevented the dive.
Yeah, really might have. And so it's just Bjergsen going back to his own lane, equal in farm against High, who, because Bjergsen went for the roam, I got to use that time to basically go for a safe recall and not lose too much overall as a player. But the gold lead for FlyQuest down to, well, now it's a deficit, in fact. A lot more farm got picked up by TSM, so that first blood, keeping the game equal, but they've been losing lanes pretty heavily. Here we go, trying to push Turtle off some of this farm. Biofrost's going to tank it up. And they're just happy to take the damage. They don't really care too much. Half HP is enough.
Yeah, it kind of goes to show you health potions plus Nami sustain when a Jhin only has 2 longswords and his rush boots of swiftness. that curtain call doesn't pack much of a punch
Nope.
until you're starting to build up your items. So already back at full health, I think Altec's idea of trying to push them back doesn't come close to working. And TSM able to continue to shove up now with such little threat in the FlyQuest lane with curtain call being down.
And that's just TSM able to shove repeatedly yet again. Of course, a pretty good recall for them since they got that BF sword longsword. And the boots, 2,700 gold. Yeah, it's a 300 lead for Wild Turtle right now in the head-to-head matchup. And this game just, it feels like game one, but with TSM not getting quite the same ganks off. But they're still winning their lanes. They still feel like the team in control right now. Still a lot more League of Legends to play, but down a kill at 500 gold is pretty heartening for the silver and black.
Yeah, and they're looking to try and prep another dive right here. They have jungle control. Scarin. Neither guy wanted to fight. They're both scared of each other.
Yeah, Moon quick drew away, and of course they know he's on that side of the map. Same for Svenskeren, which means top side is safe to go 1v1. And with a 20 minion lead for Hanser, that's probably a pro TSM thing right there. And yeah, we're kind of just waiting for the junglers to go back onto the map and do fun things. Ulti is back up for Svenskeren. Moon has all his cooldowns as well. Warrior Enchant done for Moon, not yet for Sven, so that's a difference in power spike. Turtle actually going to lose 400 HP, and maybe they can find something to do. No, not easily. Shockwave actually lands on a Bjergsen. Ults back to half HP, but still some good damage. Moon wants in the flash Q, forcing the flash out of Bjerg. We know that Sven wants a round. He's actually got a lot of ferocity and losing a lot of HP on the back end. 200 HP, ulti gets him! Overextension for Sven, didn't have to take the fight and gets blown up by Graves.
Yeah, Svenskeren definitely jumping in too far there. Fly had all summoner spells up. High still had flash, so there's really no chance that was going to kill for Svenskeren. And I have to credit FlyQuest as well for landing almost all of their skill shots in that fight. It's really difficult for Orianna to get a successful shockwave onto an Echo. Does that, still lands with Harass, saves his cooldowns for when Svenskeren jumps in and the whole team just burst him down. Or rather, Moon and Fly High burst him down right in that mid lane after Svenskeren jumps in.
Yeah, still beautiful stuff. We can watch the beginning of that fight and then the back half afterwards.
Yep. High sees that Bjergsen used his E to get a little bit of harass, immediately turns it around since he had Moon there. Does go for the quick flash Q that was going to burst out onto Bjergsen if he hadn't flashed it, but then Svenskeren really should not have gone in right there unless it was timed perfectly with Bjergsen parallel convergence and it was completely desynced. FlyQuest still had all of the relevant damage abilities. They easily pull off that kill.
Yeah. Svenskeren thought he had just enough damage to the empowered Q and the automatic crit, and was not the case. Didn't really even block damage with his W either. I don't know if he just used it at the wrong time or what, but I feel like you use it at the appropriate moment and you get a little bit better. But either way, we move back onto the game. TSM still holding the gold lead. Bjerg's going to grab this blue buff for himself. Svenskeren will be almost level 8. Moon already has that, so he's caught up in a lot of good ways. And Moon is going for a more defensive build, though. Looks like a Black Cleaver start. It's not going to be that Youmuu's or Duskblade rush that we've seen so much of in solo queue.
Yeah, he wants to make sure he can't get one-shot by a Rengar, but with that...
Oh, we got the big one.
You can't one-shot the Rengar. Good counter jungle by Moon as well. And even though FlyQuest has the 2 kills, the gold is still even, which speaks to the TSM lanes winning by rather substantial margins. First blood happened top lane, but Hanser immediately teleported back, never gave up the minion advantage, and is consistently out-farming balls with this counter pick that he had the choice of Renekton over the Nautilus. And it's going to be FlyQuest having to consistently pull off plays to try and gain the lead because they're not getting the lead through their lanes.
You can see the support and jungler at half HP just from Moon's combo. Of course, executing that nicely. Practice tool at work. Or, you know, he's just a challenger in solo queue and really good at League of Legends.
I feel like he did that before.
Almost definitely.
For the practice tool.
A little bit of a joke. Normally, only Koreans have access to those kind of mechanics. It's amazing. Moon could do this. 100 gold lead right now, FlyQuest. And, well, Vols is at least, you know, held on to the lane. Like, okay, it's a counter pick. You expect that Nautilus should outscale. I mean, based on the fact that teams want to pick these champions, you know, it's like almost a reasonable analysis here. But if Hanser can break this open when he finishes Black Cleaver, maybe we start seeing this swing around.
Yeah, I feel like while there are exceptions to this rule, whenever you have like the bruiser type champion that Hanser is playing as Renekton, where you're building some damage items and some tank items, since you're not multiplying your stats by the 5 or 6 item point, you have much earlier power spikes and sharper fall-offs. But on a champion like a Nautilus where you're building just tank items, you're constantly multiplying your tankiness with resistances and health, and you're just naturally going to have better late game scaling because you're not picking different paths and missing out on that, that amplification.
Right, armor times health times ninja tabby times maybe the crit reduction from Randuins, like times the amount of time you're alive for Sunfire damage. And look at the play now for the Drake. Double hit right there is nice. Arrow goes wide. They finish the Cloud, but Moon is going to lose his life for that one. And now Ball's actually a late TP. Gets kind of caught out here. Looking for the re-engage, though, is high. Looking for Biofrost. Ballster running. Haunter going to be rooted up by elimination. Look to the left side. It's high. Running away from Bjergsen. Flashing the wall. Rejoins the rest of FlyQuest, but Haunter is still on the push. Blast going in for Bjergsen. They've cut high with another stun. Here goes Parallel Convergence. It's not going to mean much, but it's still the kill on the high. That's 2 for 0 as paid for the Cloud Drake.
Yeah, and you gotta wonder whether that Cloud Drake was worth it, but I think FlyQuest also wanted the fight. They just didn't prep for it properly, and TSM are the ones that got the picks early on. When Moon goes down at the very start of that fight, it immediately puts them in a disadvantage, and then FlyQuest was split up, so they can never really get the fight. Hyatt also burned his Shockwave pretty early on in this fight as zoning tool for the Drake, but then didn't have it to peel. Biofrost also was never under kill threat after landing from that Shockwave, so Moon quickly goes down, Balls comes in from the flank while FlyQuest is on retreat, and High is out of mana, so that just gives TSM the full advantage on this fight. Bjergsen follows High over the wall, Haunter waiting on his W cooldown before flashing in, and even though High has the move speed boost from the Karma Shield, cannot outpace Bjergsen, and the second kill in the fight goes to TSM.
And 600 gold lead now to TSM as a result of the fight, so feels pretty good for them. And Haunter's got Black Cleaver, so I really do expect this top lane to start looking even more TSM favored than it was before. It's kind of the most important power spike in the matchup from what I can tell, and we'll see if TSM can do much more out of this. Game 1 was largely about Svenskar and ganking, and the rest of the team capitalizing off the mistakes of FlyQuest. We are seeing less of these mistakes right now, so it's been a bit of a slower paced game. And we'll see if TSM's happy to play a slower game. Still worried about the front line in the late game, but there's a long way to go until we reach that point. Let's see what the next plays are.
Yeah, even though late game Echo can be a potent assassination threat, late game team fighting on Echo is very intricate and can often backfire, especially against exhausts and a lot of shields. Very difficult to use your ult for damage. You don't necessarily have the ability to one-shot people sometimes, so the thing that would make it worse is if High would have brought Exhaust on the Orianna and abnormal Summer Spell and Heal. But here they go for a dive, potentially.
Stun onto alt tech. Do they want in? Okay, no, just going to kill the minions off and Sven. Okay, heals, and he's going to get away pretty cleanly. That's first turret gold. That's another big spike of 1,000, basically, going into the pockets of TSM. The bot lane pressure has paid off kind of yet again. Wild Turtle and Biofrost doing very well with this one. TSM first to strike turrets just like they were in game 1 here. The slow and methodical pressure and advantage gain is still happening here.
Yeah, and obviously a little bit of a difference from game 1 is it was the mid lane turret that goes down first in game 1 for TSM, whereas it's the bot lane goes down first in this game. And with Proto Belt, Bjergsen trying to get aggressive trades, but High really holding strong with this Orianna in this. Gets another Shockwave.
That's a lot of damage. What Morello's done, his ult doesn't heal for nearly as much. Only 700 HP left on Bjergsen, and it's still, I think, a decent trade. High will not often get ult opportunities, so damage when you can seems worth it.
Definitely worth ulting for Harass, but with the random Nami roam as well as the Corruption Potion and Darkseal, Bjergsen going to be relatively healthy and maybe be able to stay in this lane, but you can see FlyQuest with that bottom lane turret down, looking to go for a turret.
Bjergsen wanting to tank up with the shield, not going to get a chance to do so, and that is going to be a turret trade. It looks like Moon's there as well. The 4-man pressure should be enough time. Ooh, they were afraid of getting picked off, and the chance of a tidal wave, though it was down, but the chance of a bubble, a bit too extreme for them. But that turret will go down shortly, you have to assume.
You would think, although the push is put on hold for a bit as Altec goes to the bottom side, and now it's TSM's turn to play aggressive because that's the bottom lane minion wave game. You push it in, then you rotate mid. You push it in, then you rotate mid. You kind of go in turns sometimes. Now they go for dive.
And the stun lands on a Moon. Look at the damage about to come out of this Rengar. Mid turret's going to be dropped soon enough, but they first got the kill on a Wild Turtle. I missed that, but somehow that happened. Moon, though, overextends, didn't need to run forward, gets killed, but now Balls once in. Bjergsen missing the ulti, he's going to get stunned, going to take the damage. They picked that one up. 2-1 overall in favor of FlyQuest, and now Haunter's going to run away. That should be mid lane outer, should be traded back.
Yeah, we'll get the replay, but it looked like High caught Turtle with the Shockwave, that low cooldown with Morel and Omicron and blue buff. gives the rewards, and even though they're now able to just trade turrets right back, FlyQuest going for a tier 2.
Ooh, I like this, though. It's an aggressive call, but I think it's the correct one, absolutely. The damage output quite high. 15 gold per auto attack from elimination feels good, as well as a support. And that's going to be actually an equal turret score now, and the fact that tier 2s are worth a bit more makes up partially for the first turret gold itself.
FlyQuest fighting back very well here, and Wild Turtle was pushed up to try and land the Ash Arrow. So I think that's probably when High gets him with the Shockwave.
We pulled aggro.
Pulled turret aggro into a Shockwave, and High gets him with pretty much every spell on Orianna. Really nicely done by High's Orianna right there, but Moon ends up going down right on the back.
He thought he could kill Sven. I think a flash got him to safety. Because, yeah, Sven went down about 400 HP there. Just Moon couldn't land the rest of the damage. And unfortunately, for a player who'd been doing so well, like, oh my gosh, Moon looks infinitely better than he was in the previous year, this hasn't really been his series. I think he looked, I forget how he looked on the Dignitas series because I wasn't casting it, but it wasn't the same kind of impact I feel like he's been having in the first 3 weeks.
It hasn't been Moon's week for sure. It hasn't been FlyQuest's week either.
No.
And oftentimes the junglers are front and center for team success and failure, since it is, even though it has a lot of carry potential, a very teammate reliant role.
Yeah.
But here we go. Dive top.
Dive on the balls. He's got no HP to stand behind. He's trying, but it's not going to happen. Plenty comes out from Hanser. They're going to drop aggro and finish the turret in a second. First they can clear the minions. But look at this, actually. FlyQuest, you know, just making their own play every time. 2 top lane. Great. We'll go for mid. No one's here to defend. Wild Turtle a bit alone.
There is
back him up.
double TP, always an ever-present threat by TSM. So FlyQuest has to kind of back away right now, and the split push actually continues for TSM. Rengar and Renekton have not stopped.
Oh, man, yeah. Well, no R&R in this top lane. They're just going at it the whole time. Hanser and Svenskar are going to just drop this. And the FlyQuest play to knock down middle inhibitor turret kind of backfires. Just the rest of TSM knew they were safe. Ocean Drake is, I guess, a nice to have, but not that relevant in this game's context from what I can tell. And TSM come away with a much larger lead, 4-2 in turrets.
Yeah, so I definitely do think that the Drake for an outer turret, or any turret, can be an acceptable trade. Ocean Drake still relatively beneficial, but like you said, it's not a huge poke composition, not a huge sieging composition, so the Ocean Drake less relevant in this matchup than it would be in others. Game's still close, but TSM getting some work done with the overall map pressure in this one, and FlyQuest is going to want to try and kind of control the map a little bit and maybe group up in a lane that's not mid, because we're in this really peculiar point of the game where the only 2 turrets FlyQuest has down are in the mid lane, and we still got outer turrets 21 minutes in the game standing gold.
Let's see if more can be grabbed then. Standing turret, yeah, standing turret gold, of course, a nice thing to have if you can get map control back, if FlyQuest can get the pushes to happen. They've been able to trade kills pretty well. It's 4-4 in that mark, but see if more can happen. It's actually not going to be Black Cleaver for Moon, surprising enough to me. It's actually the Sterix Gauge Rush. Still a good item. Just, I still feel like I would have run a Gene Cleaver, but I guess there's no real tanks on TSM, so do you really need the percent shred?
Exactly.
Just a surprising choice, but I guess I see it.
I've seen more and more Sterix Gauge as Rengar comes in. It's to hopefully prevent being assassinated.
Oh, arrow's gonna hit elimination. If someone had to die, I guess it's the support, and they in fact don't really pull the trigger. They know he's not that valuable. Balls TP'd in. Hanser got to save his. He just walked into that fight. He's gonna flash for the ulti onto Hanser. Plenty of damage on Renekton. He is pretty squishy. Shocker means a bit more, and they will pick him off. Turns out that's a really good play to go for. The flash ult for Balls gives him a kill.
Yeah, anytime FlyQuest can force a 5v5, they want to go for it. And that's keyed by the Nautilus initiation right there. So TSM actually decides not to fully collapse in on this, and FlyQuest actually, instead of going to the side lanes, is just continuing to hammer it down mid lane, but Bjergsen's on the split push right now as well.
Okay, well, running it down mid's going to work this time around. Inhibitor should be taken, and they will push faster than Bjergsen himself, but of course now Balls is here to defend. Turret itself will still die, but Bjergsen getting a bit injured. You can see in the picture he gets his stun, and he's going to be okay in the duel. But that is still inhibitor turret for inhibitor turret, but an extra inhibitor itself killed off by FlyQuest. And Balls might get them that kill into Bjergsen.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to try and keep chasing because FlyQuest was running up through the river and was going to try and cut him off, but Bjergsen's able to escape. And how many games do we see where the middle inhibitor gets opened with the outer turret still alive in every lane? So FlyQuest laser focused with that mid lane control and going right back at it again.
Flashing by High, gets the flash out of Wild Turtle. That slow would have been enough to get the rest of the team to pick him off. Shockwave would have been following closely, obviously. That seems pretty decent, to be honest. They're going to go right back in for this Baron pressure.
Yeah, FlyQuest trying to exploit the advantages they have. They know they can be faster than TSM. They have the Orianna speed as well as the Karma speed. And they also know they want team fights, so they're using the speed to force the team fights. They're going to try and catch anyone they can while keeping the pressure mid before TSM can accumulate split push advantages. But look at those minion waves in the side. TSM has the minion waves where they want them.
Absolutely agree. I do want to compliment Hai, though, in terms of what he's going to do this game. 45 Magic Pen to Leandri's Rush means he does true damage to almost everyone on TSM right now. 3 damage to Biofrost, 3 damage to Wild Turtle. It's pretty close with Bjergsen. And only Sven and Hanser actually have more than his Magic Pen really in stats. And so Hai's item rush means he will evaporate the squishies on this lineup.
Yeah, you see this a lot, actually, when Bjergsen had the first Pentakill of the NALCS yesterday. It was with this exact build plus a death cap. So he went to true damage, then stacked as much AP as possible. So nice job by Hai recognizing that this is the situation to do it, because no tank has gotten a bunch of magic resist yet, and you get to kill everyone with this build.
Especially when the rest of your team is kind of physical based, right? The Graves and Jhin are the ones to carry, so if you're going to tank anything, it's going to be going towards the Randuins like you see here from Hanser, and well, it's not going to make it as easy this time around. Ball's still playing the wave clear, down 50 CS though, and it's going to get worse over time. Again, Nautilus doesn't really get specifically outscaled, but he is just a little bit starved for gold. You compare Balls to really anyone on TSM, and it's only Biofrost he's out-golding this game. And actually, it's only Biofrost and Elimination he has more gold in this game. So Balls is going to be one of the squishier tanks we've seen in League of Legends. And it might be enough that TSM can break through that.
Yeah, very true. And since he is front and center on a lot of these initiation efforts, at a certain point, TSM would be able to cut through him. But the nice thing is, if they are trying to speed him up with the Orianna dissonance as well as the Karma move speed, those also are generally accompanied by shields.
Yes.
So shields plus tank, another multiplying factor in tankiness. So in this game in particular, we hope Balls can become very durable, and it has opened up to a 5,000 gold lead. That's mostly from the turrets and the top lane CS right here. So maybe that can be equalized. Nice juke on the Ash Arrow, but TSM's going to continue to try and flank.
Then in an elimination lands the root. Bjergsen wants in for more, forcing the flash. Nearly gets the kill. Ults right back out though. Tidal Wave popped, and now's the re-engage time. Bjergsen slowed once, twice. Gonna go towards Biofrost instead, and the fourth shot gonna land on Anami, half HP, but heals and walks out. FlyQuest don't get anything off that one, but neither do TSM.
Yeah, and Nautilus actually interrupted Hanser's teleport in that one to prevent the full double TP from coming into effect, and that's how TSM want to try and start fights. It's, well, it does end up with 5 people there. They don't want to necessarily play 5v5. They're trying to double TP and get flank position onto the back line of FlyQuest, and that was blocked that time very well by FlyQuest, which now sets them up for a power play, knowing that Hanser's teleport is down. But this is a very, very risky Baron call.
They're going to try for it anyway, though. FlyQuest going to pull in the teleport from Balls. They know Hanser can't be around, so they've got to rush this quickly. Svenskeren does have Flash, does have Smite, and it's FlyQuest who pull off instead. They find the stun, the root on a turtle, and they try to zone out Bjergsen. The pick is onto one of the marksmen. And now can they find a little bit more? Elimination injured, though. The Redemption didn't get a lot of healing through. It was aimed a bit forward. And this play is a TP burn to get 1 kill. Ocean Drake this time does help FlyQuest. Lemon's healing up.
Yeah, it helps a lot. It's champion combat that keeps you from regenning. So Hai is very famous for aggressive Baron calls. They're going to keep at this and force TSM to come in.
They got Bjergsen, though. They jump into ult site. The stun's going to be there as well. Shockwave catches them out, though, and they picked up Bjergsen. It's a 2-for-1 so far. Look at the back line of Svenskeren. Can't kill off Hai. A triple kill for Moon. It's a 4-for-1. And FlyQuest, the tenacity pays off. They're going to get the Baron.
And with a 5,000 gold lead, FlyQuest still take this razor-thin advantage and drive it home to give them Baron. Even after this Baron, the gold is still going to be close, but the strategy is clear. FlyQuest used Baron as a beautiful catalyst for some team fights, and TSM walk right into it.
And that was incredibly close. It so could have been 4-1 the other way, but this fight pays off. And Hai getting a lot of early chunks on Bjergsen's a big deal here.
Yeah, and they'd already killed Wild Turtle, so that shockwave was perfect by Hai right there. Even though Moon gets the kill credit, it stopped Bjergsen from even ulting back. And then they can just clean up the rest of this TSM team, because we mentioned this is not necessarily a heads-up team-fighting team for TSM. So anytime FlyQuest can pull them into situations like that, the Baron call in this situation was how FlyQuest does it, and it pays off.
Beautifully done right there. 3, 1, and 5. Hai's got a death cap now, so he will actually possibly full combo Wild Turtle from full to dead. Not a lot of defensive stats on that champion anymore. And even though he's scaling up, Infinity Edge not too far away. It's a 4 Baron buff, I believe. FlyQuest here, and they can take a lot.
Just a desynced arrow, but they're going to try and do a double flank right here with their solo lanes.
Almost found the stun, actually. Bjergsen had jumped in on parallel convergence, but had to ult back out, so he's missing the R button. And here's the re-engage. Oh, Sven in the back line! He catches off Ultec, and he's going to flash to safety. You've got another flank coming in. This is dangerous now. FlyQuest have to run. They're in a 4v5. And TSM looking to grab everything they can. Balls, thankfully, is tanky, but the bubble's going to land. Gets a stun. High flashes, and he takes him out from almost full HP. And Biofrost is next, the mid laner. Who even needs a marksman in the bot lane? They're killing everybody. A triple kill for High. He's looking for more than Shockwave. And a kill out of him. He's got 4. It's on to Bjergsen. He got one yesterday. And High gets him back for it. That was amazing. High piloting the team to a beautiful game 2. Into the mid lane they go.
Oh my goodness, the second Pentakill of the NALCS split. Both of them on Orianna, this time against Bjergsen, who got one yesterday. And I think that's potentially game. 10 seconds left on Wild Turtle and Biofrost. The gold is still even, but they're going for the win.
They're going for it now. They've got a mini wave. They got the Baron buff. Nexus turret number 1 under fire. Turtle and Biofrost alive. This will be close. Turret number 2 hit, bubble on elimination, respawns in 3 seconds. Now Svenskaren's gonna be in the mix, onto the Nexus. I don't know if it's gonna happen. High can be assassinated, they jump into him. He's got the shield, he's trying to run away. Elimination could die, Ball's taking it up to try to kill off Sven, and it's 6 in a row now for High. Running those Shockwave catches 2 more, but he should be killed by the slow, and there's a shutdown. It's gonna be 2 for 1 this fight, and actually Bjergsen gets him on the backside. TP flank comes in. 3-1 fight lead for TSM off the Nexus turret kills.
Woo, it exposed Nexus, and finally, an outer turret goes down. We almost
the first of the game.
With neither of those side lane outer turrets going down, but boy, we got to recap this right here because this fight was huge. A really lackluster initiation by TSM where they are not synced with the way they go in, and FlyQuest just kind of waits for him to approach, and TSM thought they're going to get it because FlyQuest get a little sloppy after that initial initiation. Altec opens up, no one protects him. Svenskaren gets the solo kill in the backside, but then you have to respect that death cap 45 magic pen Orianna when no one has magic resist. Watch this around the side. High still has Shockwave, Wild Turtle's very low. High flashes just for the WQ on the Nautilus ulted target, so Wild Turtle cannot prevent that. Easy move for the double, and just keep tracking this. High, waiting for them to group up so he can get the Shockwave. As soon as they both try and dive in, times it perfectly once again. Bjergsen Zhonya's, but it's not enough because FlyQuest is stacking shields and he's able to pick up the second Pentakill right here, a day after the first one. Bjergsen did it with the same champion,
same champion,
and the same build, and I think he ended up with the same amount of kills after the fight. Look at that, 7,822 damage. High, popping off.
I think that's more than all of TSM, more than the rest of his team individually. And here they're looking for the mid lane. There's the haste, and poor Turtle is trying to run away. Oh, narrowly dodges the 2 shots. He would have died to Altec if those 2 curtain call shots came through, but there's no turrets mid lane. They're just going to go for it.
Yeah, and the key here for FlyQuest is to make sure they don't get flanked. That's the only way that TSM is going to stop them right here. Svenskaren's going to want to get in on it. Bjergsen doesn't have teleport, Hanser does, so FlyQuest want to just run it up mid and kind of win this game, but they have to do it slowly.
Ooh, he actually catches the minions. There's actually a control which allows him to pull minion aggro.
The minion aggro doesn't matter though. There's no turrets that they need to pull.
And they're gonna go in, and Svenskaren's gonna get pushed back. Here comes a big stun. Moon in the front line. Shockwave catches nothing. Ults it back, and High still getting chased down by Hanser, but stays alive. It's a 1-for-1 tank. Top lane for support. Ball's taken up, but he's gonna get dropped, and they can't kill off Bjergsen in time. Ooh, 2 for 1, favor TSM.
And it doesn't pay off there for FlyQuest. They cannot keep their backline safe enough, and High really just had to kite back that entire fight despite having the Banshee's Veil for some defensive aid. TSM hold it off once more as FlyQuest tried a very straightforward call up the mid lane, but TSM gets just enough done. Watch this one more time. Svenskaren jumps in and power W to escape. And then notice how the parallel convergence stun actually stops Moon from getting a lot, and then Hanser's in the backline to be running for a large portion of this, which basically means that the threat from Wild Turtle is removed. All the fights that have gone FlyQuest's way have been Balls ulting onto Wild Turtle, followed by High closing him off, and that time they can't do that because of the zoning from Hanser's Renekton.
Yep, and crucial by Bjergsen, he got solo Shockwave, but ulted it anyway. So nothing came out of High's ulti, and as the obviously most fit member of the team, the ultimate of the most important champion did 0. It's a big deal in a team fight.
Yeah, also have to point out that with that Banshee's Veil build, High delayed his Void Staff, and the magic resist is beginning to come through onto TSM. Bifrost has a lot of magic resist because of the Locket. You also have the Negatron Cloak completed by Haunter, so a little bit of magic resist egging into these TSM builds.
Yep, and definitely means something, because when you go from 0 to 20, it's actually significant damage cut to put through. And here we can see the next play in. FlyQuest just back down the mid lane. And the thing is, they are getting out-golded a little bit here. And of course, the Cloud Drakes aren't in combat Drakes. They don't really do much when you're just going for the 5-on-5s. Compositionally, they might be better. They just got to play around it right.
They know it's an open Nexus, so they can group up, push right through. But once again, the flank should come immediately.
Okay, they're cutting back. They know that Rengar's behind.
Renekton's here!
On the other side, he jumps in, gets the stun onto Altek, flashes away to safety. Still trying to look for this big redemption, gonna come across it high, running out of HP, and he dies! Flash doesn't mean anything! Moon can't kill Turtle either! It's a 2 for 0, and it's gonna be a whole lot more quickly. TSM gonna find their third, and they can start pushing down the base.
Oh man, this is getting rough for FlyQuest as 2 runs in a row don't work.
They couldn't dodge all the shots. Huge play by Altek, turns one back. It's only a 4v2 now.
But Baron is up without Smite. A very contentious situation
right here. But they'll go mid. You can't take Baron without losing your base.
It is an open Nexus, but also the inhibitor. Can TSM finish Baron and recall before that happens? Because there's no one to interrupt recalls. This is going to be close. Who's back to stop it?
No one's back to stop it. It's going to be them taking down the inhibitor itself. Okay, Bjergsen's running up the base. They can hear when Parallel Convergence is cast, and they don't have enough time.
Oh, man. So here's the thought of what FlyQuest was doing, and also why it didn't work. So the one way TSM wins fights is with flanks. There's no good wards on the flanks, and FlyQuest is kind of walking into this corridor where TSM has the base gates and everywhere to get around them. This time it's the teleport to get the stun onto Altek and the fight starts. Moon goes for the assassination, but no one else can get there, and then High just gets locked down.
Ash Arrow in a bubble.
Yeah, Ash Arrow in a bubble, then Haunter and Bjergsen can just all pile on. No cleanse, no McHale's, none of that stuff to be able to clear him from the CC. And that is just not what FlyQuest wanted, because they felt like they were inches from victory. They tried to kill the Nexus once, twice, 3 times. Now they have to vary their strategy because the run it up mid isn't working.
It's not anymore. You saw that little dip of red where FlyQuest was winning the game, and then when they went for the Nexus turret and started turning around. Of course, this game is easily within reach for both these squads. You just got to play it right. Now the play in towards High. Shockwave buys a bit of time. Ball's going to be here as well. Haunter, again, not the tankies, but has Guardian Angel. And we know Svenskeren does a lot of damage. They get that kill as well. High just being attacked by the double attack damage. The base kill does not help you against that. Buying that instead of a zone use or something, maybe a significant mistake. TSM now pushing in the bot lane with the Baron buff at a 5v4.
And this is huge. They can't necessarily flank him in the base, but with Orionic done, FlyQuest doesn't have the ability to fight back here. This is at least one inhibitor going down. TSM might go for more.
It's at least the inhibitor. We'll see what else can happen. Tidewave not going to be used to stop Kurt Call. They don't seem to care about that very much, and all they really got was minions. Yeah,
they're trying to run straight across the base to the other exposed inhibitor since they don't have a minion wave in the mid lane.
Just poke for now. 5v4, you don't want to start the team fight. They know their Nexus is not really in danger just yet. And the arrow's going to land on a balls. Maybe he shouldn't be that far forward, but he'll be okay. 2 ults down for TSM. No TP for High means it can be a pretty safe disengage. Double inhibitor down, complete map control for the blue team.
Yeah, and a huge swing of momentum has happened multiple times in this game, and now FlyQuest really have to regroup. It has just been a rough couple of matches for them, because we think back to the Cloud9 series, where they were up in almost all 3 games and then ended up losing the series because they had a missed call at Baron and they kind of felt like they threw a game the way. You look at the Team Dignitas series, another game where they had a lead or consistently threw themselves at Team Dignitas and ended up falling back. This game, they're down in it. They make a brilliant Baron call. They're able to get the Pentakill, and it looks like the consistency and the resilience of them to keep going at it again and again is going to pay off. But here, being so close to victory and then being very straightforward and almost narrow with the way they wanted to close the game, seeing that open Nexus and allowing themselves to get flanked in fight after fight hurts once again, and they need to be able to recover to prevent a 3-match losing streak.
Let's see if they can do this. They've got to close this game back in FlyQuest's favor, then still win game 3. There's more to be played if you want to see a FlyQuest match win. TSM, though, they've got to feel good. They've made several good team fights in a row. They've got the lead 5,000 up, double inhibitor down as well. Still wearing a Baron buff for 10 more seconds.
Yeah, and this is where FlyQuest can want to get it back. This is the point where TSM is going to be all 5 in one place, and that's where FlyQuest want to force the 5-on-5 team fight. The question is, does TSM now have enough damage to just win a straight 5-on-5 team fight? And they're disengaging as the super minions push. FlyQuest really want to be able to fight right now.
And you can see how little damage is done to these tankier members as the Guardian Angels come in and the front line is durable enough. Even the parts of Aranduin's coming through for Svenskeren.
Yeah, and this is getting really dicey for FlyQuest because there are potentially 2 waves of super minions crashing in on the base, but an Elder Drake is up right now. So all TSM want to do is delay until FlyQuest send base defenders, then they can get the Elder Drake.
I don't think it's that important, though, to stop this Elder Dragon until it's a 0-stack Elder Dragon. Like, it exists, it's some burn, but FlyQuest cannot consider this a desperate objective, and they will, you know, begrudgingly give it away, but it's not the worst thing in the world. They will catch the farm in the side lanes. TSM get it, credit to them, it's a useful thing to have.
Yeah, but the least threatening possible Elder Drake is the 0-stack Elder Drake, as far as FlyQuest having good objective control through superior team fighting for most of the early and mid game. But now, TSM again grouping up in the mid lane. FlyQuest should not be deterred from forcing a fight. They do not want their third inhibitor to go down. And notice with the sides open right now, TSM can position for a flank, which is how they need to approach this fight, is they might even want Bjergsen's Echo to go up to the top side so they can flank around to the backline of FlyQuest and prevent them from having that standard team fight.
You can see Bjergsen kind of cutting back and forth, saying, okay, I don't have to push top in myself, it'll do it for me. We're back in the mid lane. He's got the ability of a shield. Get some poke on a Moon instead. This Graves down to 80%. The wave clear is there. Of course, Baron has timed out, so it's pretty easy to kill them off. Orianna, one of the best wave clear champions in the game. Graves not bad either. And nothing gained just yet. That inhibitor turret is full HP. Minions continue to flood into the base. Haunter now split, pushing on one side. But several recalls come through for TSM. Haunter's actually alone, but he's not in danger.
And I have to say, a very successful defense there by FlyQuest. Most of the time, when 2 inhibitors are down, it is very easy for a team to force the third. I think FlyQuest was benefited a bit by their laser focus on the mid lane this game, because once again, it's fairly rare that both your side lane inhibitors are down, and it makes it a little bit easier to defend the super minion waves while still defending your third inhibitor. And you add that to the fact that FlyQuest wants to have the 5v5 team fight, and that's their access, so TSM didn't want to brute force through it. Makes it a successful hold, and it keeps FlyQuest in this game.
We'll see, though, they still got to take the map back somehow. 45 seconds till Baron, and I think with this kind of gold lead, a TSM Baron 90% of the time closes the game out and wins the match, and it means TSM improves to a 2-match record over FlyQuest, I believe the numbers would be.
No, would be a 2-0 over FlyQuest, but as you mentioned, this is the first time TSM and FlyQuest.
No, I don't mean in the head-to-head, sorry, I mean in standings. They'd be 2 wins ahead, but you're right, I was nebulous in my wording. You're right, they'd be 1-0 in the head-to-head, and they'd be 2-match wins ahead, meaning there's a lot of room to go if FlyQuest wants to be a top 2 regular season team. But right now, that's not the point. It's about this game ending, and TSM playing it slow. They're playing it for the Baron. They're not sieging. They're not giving the chance to be aced and lose the map. They know, actually, FlyQuest instantly wins the game if they win a team fight 5-0. The base just dies.
Exactly, and with all the base and all the building destruction so far in this game, if either FlyQuest or TSM win the decisive team fight, the game is over. And the stakes are very high right now as well. It's a battle for second place. TSM is looking to kind of validate their season so far after having the weak start. If they go 2-0 against C9, as well as FlyQuest, it was
the play on mid.
It's on right now.
2v1 against Balls, but it means the rest of FlyQuest are going down the mid lane to try to win the game. The rest can't defend it, so here they go. The double TP has to leave, but Balls can stop it. Bjergsen trying to cancel some of it. Can he get the auto? He does! He stops it! He stops the TP! Balls valiantly dies to give his team time to win the game, but the teleports are coming in, and I don't know if they can kill the Nexus in time.
Inhibitor's down!
The TSM is here! It's going for Biofrost! Great flash by Turtle! They're going for the Nexus! Moon is trying desperately to take it down! Can he get the attacks? He got it! FlyQuest wins the game! What a call by High!
And Balls as well with the narrow delay on the teleport from Haunter. High goes down, Lemon goes down, Balls go down, but the Sterix gauge pops at the last few seconds for Moon, allowing him to dash, reload, and get in the final auto attack on that Nexus. That game was looking grim for a while for FlyQuest, but
It was.
one way to force a third game.
I'm just happy we have a third game. That's always my goal as a caster is I don't care who wins, I just want to see him play more. These games were fun to watch. We got a Pentakill, we got 2 Nexus defenses. One went well, one didn't.
Yeah, that was a great game.
It was an actually amazingly fun game to watch, to cast, to be a part of. I'm sure TSM may be a little bit less happy, but FlyQuest would be like, all right, we did it, that was amazing. And it was, for the last 10 minutes, it was TSM controlling, winning every single team fight. And they just find the play like, ooh, you have 2 people in a side lane? Nah, mid lane we go.
Yeah, and the momentum changes in that game, also massive, because TSM was up at 5K at some point in the mid game, but they were not able to win the team fights. Then it looked like they were able to turn it back around as they consistently found flanks onto High and the rest of FlyQuest down 2 inhibitors, but persistence up the mid lane. Just keep running up the mid lane. Eventually, TSM tried to get the split push going again, didn't have enough time.
Yep.
Whew, that was close.
That was close, and it was fun. So we have replays to show because why not show more of this game? First up is the High Pentakill because this is really the reason FlyQuest had a chance this game at all.
Yeah, and this fight was pretty huge because it's desynced flanking by TSM, and FlyQuest stayed together for the most part. Alt deck goes down, and that empowers TSM to feel like they can go through with this one. And then this fight is all High. We got to see the damage charts afterwards, especially when your AD dies at the beginning of the fight. Aided by Balls' tankiness on the side here, gets the ult in, Fly, beautiful flash to get the execute. Easy to kill Biofrost with the next one. And then he still has to deal with both solo laners and the jungler. But Svenskeren taken very low, gets him with the dissonance. As soon as TSM group up once again, he gets the shockwave. Bjergsen had popped the Zonias, but that allows High to line up that last kill. Balls as well rooted the Echo with the auto attack post Zonias, which is what kept him in. And High had his huge moments and their blunders with some of those fights down the stretch, but at the very end, they pull it out and can still take down TSM in Game 3.
They still can. That's kind of a marvel to watch. If FlyQuest can win the match, they actually will be 1-0 in the head-to-head, and I believe they'll be tied match record. Because right now, FlyQuest 1 behind, right? So you do this, or you go farther that way if TSM can win it. And obviously, the head-to-head is very relevant. These look like teams, along with Cloud9, that are battling for the 2 playoff bye spots. We're at the end of Week 5 here, but you're starting to kind of get some stratification where these look like the 3 best teams in North America. Phoenix 1 just behind, and maybe you've got some other teams surging by the end, but it starts to mean more and more when you've only got 9, 8 matches left, and head-to-head can break the tie.
Yeah, and it's definitely about consistency, right? We've seen flashes of brilliance from these teams, but we've also seen some blunders. TSM uncoordinated in a lot of their plays. FlyQuest, as much as we praise them for their shot calling, which they have plenty of hits, have plenty of misses too, because having that open Nexus and nearly losing the game afterwards would be a pretty big blunder. But they kept it together.
They did.
Just barely. And now we get that third game.
Well, it's going to be a fun one to watch for. We'll get that in a little bit. For now, let's break down the series so far and send it over to Dash and Mark.